Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another Building Better Business Practice Management webinar series. This free webinar is brought to you by the Florida State Oriental Medical Association. And tonight's topic is the Acupuncturist Guide to Hipaa and Social Media with Marla Moss of Raging River Media. So welcome everyone, and thank you for being here with us tonight. And those of you that are joining us on Facebook, our FASOMA members only Facebook, welcome and thank you. So if you don't know me yet, my name is Natalia Morrison and I am the Executive Director. That's Ellen Teeter, she's the Executive Director. I am the Director of Communications for FASOMA. Sorry, it's Monday and I'm a little tired. So I'm an acupuncturist just like you, and Marla and I connected, of course, through social media on Facebook specifically. And if you joined us for our last webinar with her, you heard a little bit of my experience in regards to my website with her, and she, I thought, just had amazing information and very unique information that's very important for us as medical healthcare providers in this new online social media world platform. And this year has been very interesting for all of us. And social media is free, easy way to connect to our community and our patients and people that need us, and learning how to navigate that new world in a healthy way is very important for us as healthcare and medical providers. So I wanted to, again, bring Marla with us tonight to talk about specifically Hipaa and social media. And before we start, and she'll introduce herself and share with you more about her and why she is in this world and why she loves teaching what she teaches, I wanted you guys that are joining us through Zoom to be clear on how we're going to navigate tonight. So if you see at the bottom of your screen, you have the chat icon and you have a Q&A icon. So the chat icon is where you can share stories, you can tell us where you are located and where you're watching us from. I'm in Florida, specifically Miami. And Marla will share with you where she is. And then when you have a question, I want you to please submit them directly to the Q&A icon. And this is going to help me and Marla be able to know which are the questions and not miss them and not get them lost within the chat and everything like that. So I see, hey Kim, thank you for joining us. Kim is joining us from Orlando. Wonderful, thank you. And Robert from St. Pete, nice, beautiful city. Hey Robert. Oh, actually, Robert joined us. He taught at our annual conference this year, which was amazing. If you guys didn't join us, you're gonna have to join us next year. Robert is always teaching with us, amazing topics. This year he taught on male fertility, which was really, really cool and interesting. So thank you, Robert, for being here and supporting us. All right, so without further ado, Marla, thank you for being here again. Thank you for joining us. Why don't you tell everyone where you are at right now and a little bit about you?
Sure, thanks Natalia. That's a great introduction. That you said so much good stuff there. I'm so excited you're all here today with us, or tonight, and I'm super excited to be here. I am actually on the other side of the country in Washington State. I live on an island called Whidbey Island, and we are known for having not very good internet, but we're gonna make it. And so I can, should I just go ahead and get started, Natalia, with my...
Yeah, why don't you tell us a little bit about
Okay,
your
it's in there.
company? Okay, perfect. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, great. So I'm gonna push my screen up here. All right. So here we are, Hipaa and social media. Because we're talking about social media, there's going to be a lot of cats on here. It's just kind of like a silly joke, but I also wanted to kind of punch up the, text on background a little bit. So look out for these cats. I think there's one slide where there's not a cat on it, and I'll make some kind of special prize if you can remember and see which one it is, and I'll give you a bonus of some kind if you can contact me later and tell me which slide didn't have a cat on it. But you'll probably forget about it because this topic is super exciting to me, at least. We're gonna go through, I'll do a little introduction of myself and my business, and then we're gonna go talk about kind of a little bit of defining the terms of Hipaa, PHI, BAA, and then we're gonna go through and talk about different aspects of social media and the things that you need to know and do in order to keep your practice safe while using them. So friends and followers, posts and content, reviews, messages, appointments, and advertising. And then we'll have a little Q&A at the end. Probably a lot of time for questions. So you'll have time to get all your questions answered. So this is me. My name is Marla Moss. I'm the owner and founder of Raging River Media, which is a company that I started to fill a space where HIPAA compliant digital marketing was needed in the acupuncture community. So we build automated digital marketing systems that bring practitioners new patients on demand. And we do it with a system that we built ourselves that works with Facebook and Instagram to bring in new patient leads without violating federal law. And so in addition, I'm a HIPAA consultant, an educator, and a patient rights advocate. Now, a lot of people ask me, Marla, do you work for the government? And the answer is no, I do not work for the government. I've never worked for the government except when I was a school teacher in Baltimore, but that was a long time ago. And I'm not here to slap anybody on the wrist or to, report you to the Office of Civil Rights or Health and Human Services. I'm here to help. Everything that you share, with me is totally confidential, and I don't tell anybody unless we have an agreement that we're working together, a legal agreement, in which case there are circumstances where I would have to report a data breach. But this is it's for informational purposes. I'm not involved in HIPAA enforcement at all. And along with that, we'll go to our next slide. Okay, so my business is Raging River Media. We are the only HIPAA compliant digital marketing agency that works exclusively with acupuncturists. So we don't work with dentists or roofers or anything like that. We know the acupuncture market really well. We've brought in hundreds of thousands of dollars in revenue for acupuncture practice owners and saved acupuncturists tens of millions of dollars estimated in HIPAA violations and prevented dozens of PR crises. So one more thing is that, oh shoot, what was my one more thing? Okay, I'll come back to it. Let's see. So, okay. This is something that I thought of, but I really wanted to present to you as kind of the foundation for the work that I do. A lot of people who've been on been on one of these webinars before or have kind of been following me on social media for a while know that I have been subject to a HIPAA violation twice in my life that I know of. And once was when I was 16 and another time when I was 32, exactly 16 years later, actually. But, and both times it was a traumatic experience, and really kind of fortunately gave me the insight that I think healthcare providers and society at large can benefit from, which is that when patients go to receive healthcare, it's often not a great time in their lives. There's stress, there's a lot going on, and they may be dealing with something that makes them feel very alone in the world and scared. And to have a healthcare provider who respects privacy and honors that relationship in this way in regards to technology and other healthcare providers, protecting the patient's rights in this way, it can mean the world to somebody. So I really, even though it's the law, I applaud you all for showing up to this, because you're taking a step that a lot of healthcare providers don't in, really making sure that you're serving patients in the best way possible. And additionally, one of the reasons I work with acupuncturists and not dentists or chiropractors is that I've received a lot of acupuncture in my life, and it's really helped me to heal. I've struggled with chronic illness, and I want to give back to the acupuncture community because I just see so much potential to elevate and secure the profession, especially when it's under threat in so many parts of the world, that adding this security to the way that the medicine is delivered is really, the more we do that, the more we're going to elevate the profession and really be able to make acupuncture more mainstream, more insurance accepted, more legality, all of these things. So in summary, patient privacy is healthcare. It's absolutely a part of the healthcare that a provider delivers, and just something kind of conceptually that I wanted to put out into the world. So let me know what you think of that. Okay, so doing some terms first. So Hipaa, I'm sure you all know what that is already, the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act of 1996. And something that a lot of people don't know about Hipaa, though, is that it limits the sharing of patient data related to not just your past patients or present patients, but even future patients. So whether it's related to the patient's condition or the fact that you're going to be treating the patient or you might be treating the patient, this information is all protected under federal law. So we'll talk about this more later when we go into lead generation on social media. But the wheels are probably already turning when you think about this, because you think, oh, well, social media is a place where I want to, grow my practice and grow an audience and attract new patients. And so kind of the foundation for this presentation is understanding that whether you've treated somebody or not doesn't necessarily mean that it's not a protected health information issue. So if someone comes to you inquiring about care, you have to keep that information safe as well. And so, I've talked about this also on the webinar where we talked about websites, but if, there have been lawsuits that people have, been involved in when just because they've inquired about healthcare and that fact has been made public. So like millions of dollars in lawsuits. So it's not something to mess around with. And I feel really confident that the information in this webinar is going to give you a solid foundation for using social media to grow your practice. Well, one thing, this is what I was going to mention before, is you might be wondering, well, how did Marla get this information? Why should we trust Marla? And I have an answer for that, which is I consulted personally with a Hipaa attorney who used to work for the Office of Civil Rights and is now, his name is Adam Green. And I'm building a directory of Hipaa attorneys that I can refer you to if you'd like to consult with one privately for your practice. But Adam Green is fantastic, and he really laid a lot of this out for me. And so it's thanks to his generosity with his time that I'm able to pass on a lot of this to you. So let's move on to our next term here, which I'm sure you've heard before, PHI, which stands for Protected Health Information. There are 18 different personal identifiers that fall under the category of PHI, Protected Health Information. And some of them are very obvious, like name and photos and details about treatment, obviously. But what people often don't realize is that things like a person's IP address of the device they're using to access your website or your landing page or something like that also needs to be protected, as well as well, that's actually going to be the one that's kind of the most that's like the trickiest one, the one that's the most surprising. but even name, email, phone number, and all this stuff gets is involved in social media as well. So we're going to learn how to look out for that, and where there's vulnerabilities in social media for this information to be disclosed. The third term is BAA, or Business Associate Agreement, which hopefully you've heard of. The Business Associate Agreement binds other companies who, when you have a company you're working with, it's called a business associate in your practice. And the Business Associate Agreement binds the other company you work with in liability for protecting your patient's data. So if any other company or software or anything, social media platform, anything has access to your patient's, your past, present, or future patient's condition, or the fact that you might be treating them, if they have access to this information, then they need a business associate agreement signed with you, and that's to protect your practice. And you know what that means is, you probably, maybe you already know this, but it means that in case of a lawsuit, it means that this other company is going to share liability with you for, you know, if there's a fine.
Sorry, Marla, I think I lost your voice. Are you still with us?
Platforms.
There you go, Marla. Sorry, I lost you.
Okay, what did you hear last?
You were in the previous slide. I'm not sure if everyone, actually, those of you that are joining us, can you comment on the chat box just to make sure if you also had an audio issue or if it was just me? But okay, yes, it seems like everyone did have an audio issue as well in the previous slide.
Okay, what did you hear me say last?
Kimberly says the last thing she heard was about the BAA and having the company make sure that you have an agreement between both parties.
Okay, that's really it. And then the very last thing I said was just that not a lot of other companies are going to sign one with you, either because they're not HIPAA compliant or because they don't want to be liable with you in protecting patient data.
Thank you.
And yeah, if anything else is unclear, you know, feel free to, we can go over more of this in the Q&A. I think we're going to have plenty of time. Okay, so social media is not HIPAA compliant. There is no social media platform out there where you can share protected health information on it, or where you can invite the disclosure of protected health information. Not Facebook, not Instagram, not Twitter, not any of these. So, and the reason is because, first of all, they're not HIPAA compliant. So there's channels where all of this data is leaked out to. I mean, it's I think we've all learned a lot lately about how much Facebook data is, you know, shared and used and all of this. So it's not, and so the fact is, they're not only not HIPAA compliant, but they also will not sign a business associate agreement with you. So those two things make it impossible to legally have protected health information on these platforms. So here's kind of a summary of my do not list, okay? And you know, you don't have to scramble to write all of this down because it's all going to be in the guide, our digital guide, which is called the Acupuncturist Guide to HIPAA and Social Media. And you can download it from my website after the presentation. So I promise you all of this is in there, and you can always contact me later with questions. You'll have my email address, and the guide also has a link to schedule a free 15-minute consult with me to go over any questions you have about HIPAA and social media, or, you know, HIPAA in general, if it's something else. But so keep it in mind that this is all going to be in the guide too. So, okay, I'm going to read it to you. So because social media platforms are not HIPAA compliant, you must not add patients, either past, present, or future, as friends, must not follow them, must not comment on their posts. You must not send them messages, including you must not respond to messages. You must not schedule appointments with them, in any way confirm the patient-provider relationship, or converse with them on social media, even if they started it. So you might be wondering, well, how do I stop other people from initiating these things on social media? And the answer to that is you can't always do it, but when you can prevent it, you're legally required to do so. So what we're going to find is that it's not always so much about what you do on social media on a day-to-day basis, but something that matters just as much is how you set up your Facebook account in the very beginning. And I'm going to go over this with you in detail. And I do generally focus on Facebook because it is the most popular social media platform, and there's the most functionality in terms of all the different things you can do on it. But all of the things I'm saying about when I say Facebook, I also mean other social media platforms as well. And if there's something on a social media, you know, if there's anything else, I mean, we can just fill in the blanks, right? Because they're pretty much offer, since Facebook offers the most functionality, it pretty much covers all of the other functions that other social media platforms have, you know, in terms of messaging and all this stuff. But if there's any confusion, just let me know. Okay, so let's see, say more about that, appointments. Okay, actually, I'm going to say more about this. So, yeah, you really don't want to interact with patients individually on social media. Yeah, I see a lot of times I'll see practitioners, you know, carrying on a conversation in the comments with patients or potential patients. And I just want you to know that that can get you in a lot of trouble. And there are other ways to communicate with patients and to bring them into your circle from social media without doing those things. So I'm going to share those with you. First, I'm going to talk more specifically about some of these functions on Facebook. So reviews on Facebook, I recommend you turn those off. And I know it feels sad because you're like, oh my gosh, I have like 50 5-star reviews, and you know, they really help me bring in new patients. But the problem is with reviews that, and this is the same with Google reviews or Yelp reviews or anywhere else, although you can't always control those, but where you can control it, you're legally supposed to control it. And the problem with reviews is that somebody can disclose, I know this sounds weird and it sounds like it shouldn't be an issue, but if somebody has, let's say somebody has beef with you, they didn't like the way you treated them or didn't get something they wanted, you know, and they, it'll usually be like their spouse or their sister or something leaves you a negative review, right? So, I mean, this is also not just about Hipaa, but also about protecting your practice. Because when you open your Facebook page to reviews, it's very, very difficult to get a negative review removed from Facebook. And sometimes it's obvious, you know, that somebody was just having a bad day and decided to take it out on you. But the turning off reviews is another way to stay in control of your public image, so to speak. But the issue is with when somebody else discloses personal protected health information in a Facebook review on your business page, then you know, that can implicate you in a Hipaa violation, which sounds really unfair, I know. And then the other thing I want to let you know for reviews is that if you don't turn them off, and I'm recommending that you do, but if you don't, then you have to be really careful how you respond to them. I would recommend, I mean, the safest thing to do is not to respond to them at all. And because the issue with responding is there's a possibility of confirming the patient-provider relationship, right? Which is a violation of Hipaa. So if you are going to respond, and this is in the guide, I have it written out, there's a specific way you can word your response that will not get you in trouble. For example, with a positive review, you can say something like, you know, thank you, Shelley. just thank you, but without confirming the patient-provider relationship. So for example, you wouldn't want to say, thank you, Shelley. It was great treating you and I'm glad your cyst disappeared, you know, something like that. You don't want to say that because you don't want to actually confirm the patient-provider relationship. So you don't want to say, thank you, Shelley. You know, it's always great seeing you in our practice. Even that is too much, okay? And just keep it real simple. And then if it's a negative review, what you can say is something like, John, please contact our office at, you know, your phone number. We're happy to discuss any issues, you know, something like that. So you don't want to get into what happened with John. You don't want to get into the fact that, you know, whatever went down was all his fault. You don't want to defend yourself. You don't want to, you know, try to be smart in the comments. You know, you don't want to try to, you know, whatever, just answer it really. Just the most professional thing to do is just to say, you know, we invite comments and complaints or any issues to be sent to our email address or a phone number. And, you know, we value feedback and we look forward to resolving all concerns. So try to keep it impersonal and just really basic and simple. And you can ask me for clarification if that needs any. Another thing is that, you know, instead of having the reviews on Facebook, you can screenshot them. You know, if people send them to you via email, and then you can, with their permission, you can post them on your page. You can also put testimonials and reviews in your ads. You can put them on a landing page. You can put them on your website. There's so many other ways for you to use them, and even use them on social media that give you more control over the messaging you put out from your practice. So I recommend that practitioners make a habit and actually automate the process of requesting reviews from your patients. For example, if you have HIPAA compliant texting, you can make sure they get a message after an appointment and says, oh, please leave us a review on, you know, maybe you're using Google reviews, or please leave us your feedback here. And then you have a link to a specific, you know, form where you're collecting reviews or something like that. And then you can use them however you want. And you actually have a lot more freedom and power when you're using those testimonials outside of the specific Facebook reviews widget, so to speak. So the second thing that we can talk about in terms of HIPAA proofing your Facebook business page. Oh, I guess I should go over this real quick. A lot of people get a little bit confused about what is the Facebook profile and what is the Facebook page. So when you sign up for a Facebook account, the first thing you get is just a profile. And that's the one where you can add friends and you can follow pages and like stuff. And then you specifically, in order to have a Facebook business page, it's something you specifically would need to create. So there's a difference between the profile and a page. A page you have to create separately. And it'll be something like, you know, Marla Moss Acupuncture or whatever that is, you know. And then, so that's separate from your Facebook profile. So when I say page, I'm talking about the business page. So right, for example, now we're gonna talk about messages. I don't mean turn off Messenger for your Facebook profile, because that's your personal account. And it's up to you if you wanna receive messages there. But for your public facing Facebook business page, for example, your Marla Moss Acupuncture page, you want to turn off Messenger for that, okay? Because there's, I don't think there's any practitioner I've talked to who has Facebook Messenger on for their business page who hasn't received some kind of disclosure of PHI in their inbox as a result. So you want to nip that in the bud by not even letting it happen and turn off Messenger on the business page. Yes, you can still use it for your personal profile, but obviously not with patients. So, and I know that, you know, you're thinking, oh, well, how are people going to contact me? I'm going to look unavailable. And what I say to this is, you know, what makes you look really unavailable is if you have Messenger on, but someone messages you about PHI and then you can't respond. That's what makes you look really unavailable. it's much better to turn off Messenger and then fill out your profile completely. And your Facebook business page, fill out that page completely. There's so many fields for you to enter: your website, a scheduling link, your email address, and all of this. You can have all of that information on your page, and it'll be really easy for people to find. And you can customize, when you turn off Messenger, you can customize that little blue button to say something else, contact us, and it can go to your online scheduler, or I think even to a phone number or email address, depending on how you prefer to be contacted, how you run your practice. So, and I did write, include your HIPAA compliant email address instead. Yeah, the same goes for your HIPAA compliant online scheduler, and whatever way you have for patients to get started with you, you can include all this information on the page, on the Facebook business page, okay? So they're not gonna see your page and think, oh wow, this person is totally unreachable, I think I'll go to their competitor, you know? If you have questions about what is HIPAA compliant email address or HIPAA compliant scheduler, you can just email me about that later, because that's less of a social media question, but I'm happy to give you information if you need that. So the third one here is appointments. So Facebook has an appointments widget that allows you to be booked directly on social media. So I don't know how many of you have, have used this, but it allows someone to go to your Facebook business page and literally, I think it's book now. Their button is book now, and then it takes you, you stay on Facebook and you literally book an appointment with a healthcare provider through Facebook. But we don't do that because Facebook is not HIPAA compliant, and because to book an appointment requires a disclosure of PHI, okay? Even as much, all of this, so even as much as a first name is too much, okay? So you can't have, like even when someone messages you, even if they just say, hey doctor, how's it going? Can I get an appointment? Their name is already there. And because their name is there in, the person who's sending you the message, that violates HIPAA. So same with appointments, no matter how little information you ask for when you book appointments with patients, I'm pretty sure you at least get their name. And so it cannot be done on Facebook. So by default, Facebook appointments is usually off as far as I know. So just don't turn it on. And if you do have it on now, it's not a problem. You can just turn it off and instead add a link to your HIPAA compliant online scheduler, whether you use Full Slate or Acuity or Jane or MindBody Online, or whichever one of those you use that you've signed a business associate agreement with. Include a link to that in the about section, or one of those areas. And I also think that I recommend posting a couple times a week with that link in there. When you're doing your social media, put a link in there whenever you post. It doesn't hurt because it's one less step that someone has to go through to get connected with you. Alrighty. What's next? Okay, so Marla, is there anything I can do on social media? And I say yes, with the appropriate safeguards and strategy in place. So I've gone into that a little bit with letting you know how you can kind of make up for the fact of not using reviews and messages and appointments on Facebook. And I'm going to talk for a little bit about strategy. I'm not going to go into it very much because it's just not really the topic of the webinar. Maybe I can do something on it another time. But so we've just talked about the safeguards that you need in place on social media in order to be able to use it to grow your practice safely and legally. And I'm going to talk just for a minute about strategy. And whether you do organic posting or paid advertising on social media, this involves different HIPAA concerns as well. So I wrote, let's see, build an audience. Okay, so when you're posting organically, this is just when you're posting on Facebook with your Facebook business page, and you might be, maybe you're giving information about how to boost your immunity as summer turns to fall or something like that. Or maybe you're a specialist, maybe you work with the thyroid issues. And so all of your posts are about thyroid and all of this stuff. But the way that organic posting is most successful is when you build an audience and consistently produce high quality content. So it takes time, but costs nothing. So that's just a little bit of strategy. It's obviously not very detailed, but I do see a lot of practitioners having a great organic posting game. And again, what I see is that they're very consistent and they do a lot of long form posts, and it's always high quality content. And when people know to expect that from you, you will build an audience, and it's a great way to get patients. Now, sometimes people who are really killing it in organic posting will also do paid advertising to their followers or to a targeted audience. But paid advertising also works even if you don't do hardly any organic posting. So even if you don't really maintain your social media, you don't post twice a week, you don't even post once a week, you know, maybe in September 2017, you posted a cat video and like, that's it. It's okay. You can actually still get patients from social media with a targeted advertising campaign. It does cost money, but it doesn't take a lot of your time. So it kind of depends not only on whether you have more time or money, because before you start paid advertising, you should also already be running a profitable practice. If you're struggling to pay the rent either at your clinic or your house or anything like that, paid advertising is not the thing for you. Okay, so I'm gonna save you money by letting you know that. But with paid advertising, when it is a good time for you to do that, then you can turn a cold audience into new patients, and it works even if you're never post on social media otherwise. And you can always ask me for more information about that later. And here's another tip for you. This is Ann Handley. She's kind of a thought leader in the social media and content creation. And she says, quality content means content that is packed with clear utility and is brimming with inspiration, and it has relentless empathy for the audience. And I just love that quote. I think it just really says clearly what you can do on social media and the best way to use social media if you're going to focus on organic posting and building up a following. None of this requires disclosure of PHI or invitations to disclose PHI, and yeah, and you can be really successful with it. So next. Okay, we'll talk about advertising. So when you are running ads on Facebook or Instagram, here are some ways to do it so that you're not violating HIPAA. I think I'm covering everything that you need to know about this, but you can always let me know if you have questions. So the first thing I say is those great testimonials that you're no longer showcasing up in the Facebook reviews area, put those in your ads, okay? They're the best way. Social proof is in the way of patient testimonials is the best way to attract new patients. People will believe what total strangers say about you on the internet. I'm sure you already are aware of that. And most people now who look for a new healthcare provider go to social media to check people out. So I'm using testimonials in your regular organic posting and in your ads is a great way to attract new patients, okay? Another thing you can do is, I really recommend this, that you have a landing page. So when you run an ad, I don't recommend running it just to your website, because your website most likely does not
Marla, we lost you again. Audio out, yes, Kate, I know. Well, she did tell us that in her island, there's no good Wi-Fi. Hey, we lost you again.
Oh, what'd you hear last?
Let's ask everyone that joined us, website, most like not landing pages, so that you should, when you do an ad, to connect it to a landing page, not to your website.
Okay, I repeat myself a lot, so you didn't really miss anything. Thanks for letting me know.
Okay.
So a landing page must be HIPAA compliant. And a landing page, as many of you know, is a 1 or 2 or sometimes 3-page website that where you send your traffic from a Facebook ad. So the reason why the landing page needs to be HIPAA compliant is because on the landing page, you're going to collect the name and usually email and phone number of future patients. And so as we discussed earlier, all of that information is protected under HIPAA. So the landing page needs to be hosted on a HIPAA compliant server where all the data is encrypted and where you've signed a business associate agreement with that company. Facebook lead pages are not HIPAA compliant. So when you're making a Facebook ad campaign, remember not to use Facebook lead pages because you can't collect that patient information actually on Facebook. You've got to go off Facebook before you can collect any information about potential patients. So the third thing is in Facebook ads, do not use custom audiences. It can be really tempting, and at first you can get a great result with uploading a patient email list, the list of your patients, their email addresses, and doing a lookalike audience, and you can get leads that really closely resemble your existing patients, but it is not HIPAA compliant to do that, and I promise you it dries up really fast anyways. So it's not really a good long-term strategy anyways. It's tempting to get those patients in quickly, but you need a long-term strategy with really selective targeting that helps you hone in on your ideal patient without using the email addresses of your existing patients. So it's important not to cut corners in that way because we can't disclose your patient email list to Facebook. Okay, and then the last part is, so if you're doing an ad campaign with, the ad and a landing page, and then after the landing page, you're triggering an email automation to follow up with people who opted into the campaign, make sure that the email marketing system you're using is HIPAA compliant. So the emails that you send to follow up with your leads must be encrypted at rest and in transit, and you must sign a business associate agreement with the email marketing software company. I have a few recommendations if you're in the market for one of those, but and then the other thing about email, of course, is that you've got a HIPAA compliant email address that the emails are being sent from. So you can't be sylviaacupuncture@gmail.com. Okay, if you've got that on your website or your Facebook page or anything like that, just go and get G Suite. That's something I can help you with, but it's really not that complicated. You can turn Gmail to G Suite, and that makes all the Google products HIPAA compliant, almost all of them. There's a list you can find of which ones it makes HIPAA compliant and which ones it doesn't. And I'll provide you with that list if you ask me, if you send me an email and ask me. Microsoft 365 is also a way to get HIPAA compliant email account. And there are probably others as well, but those are the two that I usually recommend. So yeah, and the email marketing software is, for example, like some people use MailChimp, but you can't use MailChimp if you're a healthcare provider, okay? So, and another thing is like landing pages, the most common one is like ClickFunnels. Don't use ClickFunnels. Ask me for recommendations if you need them for doing a marketing campaign. But I just wanted to call out those two because they're very popular. Also, Constant Contact, because I know they have an agreement with Unified Practice to where you can get like a special deal on it. But Constant Contact is actually not HIPAA compliant, even though they say they are. And you can, if you want to talk about that later with me, you can. But I just want you to watch out for some of these kind of very common ones that a lot of healthcare providers fall prey to, or sometimes they hire a marketing company to build a campaign for them. And the marketing company is like, oh yeah, we work with healthcare all the time, but they're not HIPAA compliant. So if you hire a marketing company or an advertising agency to build a campaign for you, you have to sign a business associate agreement with them because they're going to have access to protected health information of your potential patients, because that's what lead generation is in healthcare. You're bringing in new patients to your practice. And okay, that's it. So like I said earlier, you can get the guide that's called the Acupuncturist Guide to HIPAA and Social Media On my website, ragingrivermedia.com, there's a bunch of places to download that guide on the website. It would be hard to miss it. So I'm going to leave this screen up while we do our Q&A. In the guide, there's a link to your free 15-minute consult that you can get. Even if you've been on a webinar with me before, you can have another consult. It's fine. I love talking to you guys. And the link to that is in the digital guide, which you download from the website. And my email address is here at the bottom. You can always email me anytime with any questions. I love helping, and I'll be happy to answer any questions I can for you. And yeah, that's it. So we can open up for Q&A now.
Wow, that was incredible. I immediately jumped into my Facebook page and started like turning off everything that I could. I can't figure out how to turn off Messenger, but I turned off the reviews, and I need to figure out how to take off the book now, because I also have that on my Instagram, and I guess I have to take it off from there as well. And I'm just completely floored at all the information that you have been able to share with us in this short amount of time. But I have to say, I don't know how the rest of you are feeling. I'm kind of like, maybe I should just not have any social media pages at all at this point.
Oh, no, you should.
But that was incredible. I definitely am gonna set up time with you. And you and I talked about switching my website, and I had told you not right now. I'm a little overwhelmed. We're in the middle of a pandemic.
Yeah.
The world's falling apart, and definitely I need to do that with you, because I have Wix, and I created my website on Wix, and Wix is not HIPAA compliant either. And I also use MailChimp, and now I'm like, oh my God, everything that I had set up wasn't, it wasn't tailored to healthcare providers. And I think that's why it's so important for us to be able to have you here as an expert, because I've been in practice for 10 years. And so I did all my research. This is like the third website that I create. And here I am doing my research, thinking that the information out there is accurate. And yeah, the thing that I completely miss is that I'm a licensed healthcare provider. I'm not in sales. I'm not selling a product. I'm not anything else, and my license defines me at a state level, but also at a national level. And these social media platforms are exposing us to the world. And so you being able to share all these no-nos is definitely a gift, and that's how I feel. It's definitely a gift for us, for our profession. And I'm just like frantic, like, oh my God, all the things I need to change. But we have you, so that's a good thing.
Okay. I imagine you're probably not the only one who's a little overwhelmed right now. And, I just want to encourage you all, please do continue to use social media, because I'll help you. Okay. If you can't find how to turn off messages or book now, and I'll help you do it. And okay, someone tried to download the guide and got an error message. Okay, email me instead and I'll email it to you, okay? That's weird that would happen today, but email me. I'll put my email in the chat again. You can email me, and I will just email you the guide, okay?
Make sure that where it says to, switch it to all panelists and all attendees, and that way they can, no, you send it to only panelists here.
Okay. Sorry, I don't know if my website's acting weird or something.
There you go. I sent it to everyone.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you for that. So let's go over a few questions that came in. Okay, it was, how do I turn off reviews? I'm assuming on Facebook. And oh, Randy Lucas says there is no cats on that page.
Oh, which page?
No. Oh, on this page, it was at 7:36. Randy, you should have said which page. Actually, 2 pages. They noticed it in 2 pages. Okay.
Okay.
How do we protect IN address? I think that might have been a typo.
Wait, so there was a first question, right? That somebody couldn't find how to turn off reviews on Facebook. So the place you go to do all of this stuff is in settings in your Facebook page. So that's my dog. So if you go into settings, you know what I'll do is I'll make a video actually, and I'll post it on my YouTube channel. I'm Marla Moss on YouTube, and I'll post a video on how to do all these things. Okay, so you guys can know how to turn off. I'll make a note to myself to do that.
Yeah, that would be great.
You can also probably Google it, like how to turn off Facebook reviews, and there'll be a ton of information online about how to do that. So try that as well.
You know, I'm thinking, how do you feel? Maybe I should email this to you, or we can talk later. Of doing like a live how-to on all these things, and we can walk everyone through it, and maybe create like a mock page.
Yeah, that would be great. Yeah.
Okay.
We
If you guys like that idea, comment that on the chat box. And we can probably just go over like Facebook, which you say is the most popular one, and then maybe we can do something with Instagram, and we can set that up for the future. I think that would be awesome. And okay, so let's go to the next question. Okay, how do we protect IP address?
Okay, so you protect IP address this is what, you don't have to worry about it on Facebook because you're going to set up your Facebook business page for success. But if you're directing traffic from a Facebook ad or from one of your organic posts to another website, whether it's your website, your practice website, or a landing page, make sure that site is hosted on a HIPAA compliant server. So we host websites and landing pages on our server, and there are, if you're just doing like, if you're doing like a basic drag and drop website, I have another recommendation for you. But yeah, we can host landing pages on our server. There's probably other options as well, but it needs to be a HIPAA compliant hosting provider that you sign a business associate agreement with. That's kind of the short answer.
And that is not, yeah, that doesn't go with Wix or Square. Those are not HIPAA compliant at all.
Right.
Okay.
Because other hosting providers that are not HIPAA compliant, they will sell the IP address of your website visitors. They'll sell it to Google, you know, whatever. And then your potential patients will get these ads popping up for them that are like, wait, how did this information get leaked? Oh yeah, you know, and they'll trace it back to you. So
terrible.
I know.
Here's a great question. Do I need a BAA with cleaning service?
Will they have access to protected health information? Will they be able to access it?
So if they will be able to access it, and it's not under lock and key, then it's probably best to have a BAA with them.
Yes, yeah, I recommend it. I mean, unless there's absolutely no way for them to get into it. But even if you've got like sticky notes laying around or anything like that, you know, with patient information on it, then yeah, you should have a legal agreement with them.
Yeah, that's a great question.
Yeah.
And the slide on organic posting did not have cats on it.
Aha.
And that was submitted by Kate Hoffman.
Okay, Kate. I'll do, and you said Randy as well said it. So if you two can contact me, and I can do like an extra 15 minutes on your consultation or something like that. If that sounds good. Yeah.
That is so generous of you. You guys are lucky. See what everyone else missed. All right. So there's a couple of things on the chat box, and I wanted to see if we can go over them. So let me.
Yeah, let's do it.
Question on the social media sites. For example, practitioner has Facebook page and a conversation starts with a few folks. Is it appropriate to have someone call for appointment if questions come up that require them coming in? Do the rules of Facebook, etc., even fall under closed or private groups?
Okay, so I'll start backwards. So closed and private groups are still not HIPAA compliant. So Facebook groups are not a great way for you to get new patients. Now my question, I guess, is I said a conversation is started with a Facebook business page. I guess we're talking about like in the comments of a post or something like that. Then, I mean, yeah, you can, I mean, yeah, you can, if you wanted to, you could turn off comments for the post. I mean, that would be one way to handle it. You could also not respond to the comment, but in a comment below, say, you know, without naming the person who commented, say, anyone who wishes to schedule an appointment can do so by clicking on this link or calling this number, you know? So you're putting the information out there without responding to the specific person who said it.
So then the trick is to never pinpoint or single out a person on social media, because then that will lead to HIPAA issues, essentially,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So you can generally answer questions, just not like reply directly and not mention that person's name.
Right.
And just funnel them back to calling you or emailing you.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then, so I know that marketing wise, a lot of online marketers out there suggest doing a private group. How do you suggest how to handle that then in regards to HIPAA? Because most of us are gonna invite our patients and our contacts and our friends and our family. So how do you navigate that world when you have a bunch of patients that don't know that they're patients, but maybe have an idea since they're a patient themselves? How do you suggest handling that?
So I wouldn't do a Facebook group. I wouldn't invite patients to a Facebook group. I would keep Facebook groups for your professional networks, you know, for other acupuncturists, and then get patients a different way. I know some acupuncturists do have Facebook groups where they, you know, they educate people and all this, but it's not HIPAA compliant, so I wouldn't do it, because you're acting unless you're acting in a different capacity, like if you're also a coach or something and it's not affiliated with your acupuncture practice. But if you're conversing with people in a kind of a treatment or care capacity on Facebook, it can get you in trouble. So I would find another way to do that. Something I'm looking into that I think is really cool is HIPAA compliant apps. So, and you can actually.
We lost you again. Your voice went off. Yeah, not coming back yet. We'll wait. Let's see.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, yes.
What did you hear me say last?
There is an app, a HIPAA compliant app that you're looking into.
So yeah, I'm looking into it right now because I want to be able to recommend stuff to you guys. So, but you can actually create like your own social media network on some of these apps. And I haven't found a HIPAA compliant one yet, but you can actually like pay someone on Upwork to build one for you. A HIPAA compliant app where your patients can like interact with you.
Oh, we lost you again. You're gonna have to move out of the little island with bad Wi-Fi.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
So it's 5 o'clock here, so people are getting home and like turning on Netflix or whatever. So it's like, oops. Anyway, stay tuned. I'll provide more information about HIPAA compliant apps when I have more information. But yeah, I don't recommend doing Facebook groups with your patients. I think it's pretty time consuming to do that. And I think there's better ways for you to bring new patients into your practice. So.
Okay. Okay, let's go to the next question. How do we guarantee email service is HIPAA compliant?
So depends if you're talking about, actually whether you're talking about your email account, for example, like, Gmail, G Suite, or an email marketing software like Paubox, Paubox, for example, is one of the healthcare email marketing software companies. But the first thing you do is you find out whether they're HIPAA compliant, okay? So often they'll say so on their website, but that doesn't mean they are. And just because they don't say they are, well, it usually means they're not. But first find out if they're HIPAA compliant, okay? And I usually just do that with like a basic Google search, okay? The second thing you do is ask them if they're willing to sign a BA with you, okay? Because this document will legally bind them. Legally, they have to protect your patient data if they sign a BAA. The third thing to do is to read the BAA they have. Most companies have their own BAA and they don't want to sign an outside BAA for liability reasons. So, and you can watch on my YouTube channel, I've got, I analyze a couple of BAAs and I go through it and I'm like, oh, this is good, oh, this is not good, because you really want to know, does this legal document protect you? Because some BAAs actually excuse the other company for anything. So it actually gets them out of liability. And you sign this document with them that they call a BAA and they say they're HIPAA compliant and you're not covered. So I hope I didn't just make it worse, but yeah.
Well, if you are in our FASOMA members Facebook groups, I'm gonna share the links to those videos that you've done on your YouTube channel.
Cool.
Yes, thank you.
But the most important thing is the BAA, okay? So is that they're gonna sign a BAA and that you read it and it says that you can share PHI on their platform and that they're gonna be liable for protecting it. That's really what you need to look for. So.
Wonderful. And there was someone else that found no cats on organic posting page. That was Jen.
Okay. I got your name, Jen. Come find me. We'll have a good chat.
All right, and well, here's a testimonial. I use Marla at Raging River Media to host my website, and I feel so much better, all capital letters, being HIPAA compliant now. That's wonderful. Thank you, Sarah, for sharing that. All right, so I think one more question came in our Q&A. It's not against the rules to say thank you if someone recommends me in a Facebook post, right? Question mark. As long as I don't say they are my patients, question mark.
Hold on 1 second, okay?
Sure. All right, guys, so this is going to be our last question for tonight. It's already after 8. And
okay,
I want to
sorry about
thank you all for being here. No, it's okay.
Okay.
So the question, I'll read it again. It's not against the rules to say thank you if someone recommends me to a post on Facebook, right? As long as I don't say that they are my patients, question mark.
Okay, so we're talking about a recommendation on Facebook?
Right, if someone recommends that practitioner on a Facebook post.
Yeah, you can say thank you. Yeah, all right. But just thank you. Yeah.
Keep it simple.
Yeah.
All right. Wonderful. Well, thank you everyone for being here with us again. And thank you, Marla, for this amazing presentation that I know all of us are gonna go immediately to our social media pages and just like troubleshoot and turn off everything if we can. So thank you again, and we are definitely gonna have you back. You are just full of really important information for us, especially in this new online world that we're all trying to learn and navigate through. Do you have any last minute tips or recs or any last thoughts that you want to leave us with?
Oh,
Don't stress.
I hope that, you know, maybe if each one of you could take the opportunity when you find it to, you know, to share this webinar with another practitioner who wasn't here today, or to make Hipaa, you know, kind of a conversation piece in your networks, that I think it'll go really far to help us get the acupuncture profession where we want it to be. So
Wonderful.
yeah, we
Thank
can all do a
you.
little bit to help. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, Natalia, and all of you here at EPSOMA. Yeah.
Thank you. Good night, everyone, and we'll see you next time.
Okay, bye.
Bye.